Welcome back. Now, the Malaysian government has proposed a potential ban on smartphone use among students under the age of 16, a move aimed at addressing disciplinary issues, social media addiction, and online bullying in schools. The idea has sparked nationwide debate. While some see it as a necessary step to restore focus and values in education, others warn that it could limit learning opportunities and widen the digital gap among students. Now, to help us explore the educational implications of this proposal from classroom learning to digital discipline, we're joined by Dr. Sharifah Fatimah ALZAHRAH Syed Hussein, Assistant Professor of Sociology at International Islamic University of Malaysia, or IIUM. Thank you for joining us, Doc. Now, as an educator, what's your initial reaction to the government's proposal to ban smartphones for students under 16? Do you see it as necessary or potentially counterproductive?
All right. Hi, Lynn. So I think I'm going to look at why the focus is on smartphones, but also listen to how you phrase the issue. We all know that all of these issues do not have a single solution. So banning something or banning a smartphone or banning social media use would not be able to solve the problems, but it would be helping in addressing some of the issues that we have. So I have concerns about whether we're banning smartphones or whether we're banning social media use, because if we're not defining them properly, then we might not be able to tackle some of the issues that we have. So there's the screen use, there is the smartphone, and then there is also the social media. So for children below 5, I think it's clear the guidelines that we have from the World Health Organization. Under 2, totally no screen time. So we shouldn't just put all the children below 16 into one category. And then for children above 7, 1 hour of screen time guided with a parent is okay. 13, then it's a different issue. But you mentioned that we want to look at the educational aspect of it. So when we're talking about education, I'm assuming it's content, and also we're talking about technology use. So it could be not just smartphones, but also any kind of technology that has similar smart functions that would assist in the education of children. So I know that we all want a simple answer because we're all sort of, stressed out or worried about what's been happening and all the news that's been out. But we're also trying to address some more complex social issues, and a lot of responsibilities lies in a lot of different people who have to be accountable, or organizations or groups, rather than just, if we take away the phones, then we'll solve the problems. So definitely, I don't think it's a simple solution. There has to be some more regulating and some more accountability, but not a simple ban. I don't think that's helpful.
Now, Doc, obviously it's sort of like an experimental trial and error situation. Everybody's trying to figure out what's the best move. Certain countries have implemented some and others may not have followed suit, but are looking at potential to be able to implement that. Now, the government, though, argues the move could curb disciplinary issues and social media related problems in schools. From an educator's standpoint, do you think such a ban would genuinely improve student behavior and safety, particularly in the educational environment?
All right. I think if we think about educational environment, there's 2 environments that we might be looking at. The physical environment of being in school. So generally, I think schools do not allow children to use phones at school. So the usage of phone is typically for older children in certain specifications where it is regulated by teachers. But most of the use of challenges that we have now could come from, number one, addiction to smartphones, which have been proved in research to be associated with, aggression and things like that. And then content as well, the kind of contents that children consume. And then also unregulated children's interactions online, or also maybe not enough accountability on the side of the social media platforms. So for the school side, I don't think there is much to improve in terms of the physical space. But I think a lot of the usage and a lot of the regulation should come outside of school, because generally schools have very tight regulation about usage of phones, usage of technology, and it usually comes with the instructions of the teachers and the system or curriculum as to what they want the children to use the phones for. So I'm more interested in what happens outside of these boundaries in terms of regulating things. For example, there should be more emphasis on regulation for social media platforms in ensuring that it's not addictive, that there is no data collection for the children, and minimizing, and there shouldn't be an autoplay for children. And then the algorithm shouldn't target for children to stay on social media for as long, because it's a non-stop kind of addiction, and it's always something that you want to see more of. So that regulation can happen, and we cannot think that it is not a man-made kind of system of algorithms. So addressing that, I think, is more important.
Now you're speaking about a much larger sort of like creation of a way to limit the usage of social media ban, which stands beyond just the ban of smartphone. Now let's sort of like go back to schools. Many teachers still rely on digital tools for learning today. If this is to go through, how might this proposed ban affect classroom teaching and students' access to digital education?
I think we cannot run away from digital education. Maybe we can start a bit later. We can postpone some things. Like I said earlier, screen use can be postponed. Some things children can learn at an older age and still not be left behind. But then how much of it and what is to be taught? Like I said earlier, at school, I generally think that teachers are constantly being updated by the curriculum, and the government sort of works around it. There should be some improvements on whether we can ensure that there is equality in access, and there are digital gaps that are, that we're looking at. So we can continue to use it under the guidelines that we have, but then we also should consider, whether we are looking at giving homework assignments where children have it without communication and collaboration with parents, especially for younger children.
Now, I know you mentioned earlier at the start about, multi-pronged approach. So instead of an outright ban, what alternative measures would you like to see being implemented, whether it's in schools or by policymakers, to promote responsible tech use while still encouraging, as you mentioned, the necessity of digital learning?
I think the most important stakeholder, the most important group to talk to would be parents. And I think educating parents is really important in terms of knowing the difference between screen use, between content, and also social media, and what are the digital media literacy that parents need to have and parents need to work on. And I know that for many parents, there is a reliance on technology or reliance on screen for their children, but we also must take responsibility to know what is being watched. So co-viewing is really important. And I think so to have proper guidelines for parents to follow is really important for younger children, because some of these impact of overuse of screen time and violent content will continue to escalate as the child grows older. And then, of course, I want to see regulation for social media platforms to remove removal of inappropriate content for children. There is no data collection while they're using it, monitoring of the algorithms to ensure that it's appropriate for children. In terms of general limitations or regulations, because I think bans do not necessarily or may not be necessarily received well, it's regulating the use of social media for younger teenagers. So for older teenagers, there should be better regulation, but I think it would be better that it is only allowed at an older age. Although I think it is by regulation above 16, implementation-wise is what we really need to look at. So I think school can play a role in raising awareness and digital media literacy, but a lot of the work is or should be done outside of the school in terms of regulating social media platforms, regulating content providers, and then also educating parents, and for parents really to take up the responsibility to monitor and to view things together with their children, so that the use of technology is an empowering and safe and healthy use. So we don't want to create an idea that social media or any kind of technology is necessarily bad, but to also feel empowered that it's a tool for us to use and for us to, learn to use responsibly. And children actually learn a lot from parents and how parents use their phones and their social media. So I think we need to look into that. There should be cooperation and collaboration between parties.
Thanks, I think that was a really comprehensive reply. But in closing, finally, what is your view on integrating technology responsibly in education? And how do we prepare both students and teachers for the digital age without losing focus on character and values?
I think it's really important to continue upgrading and implementing use of digital technology, but making sure that it is for all, that there is no digital divide, meaning that everywhere in Malaysia, whether it's in the rural areas, areas with higher poverty rates, that children can access digital technologies for education. But it must be clear that it is for education. So we're not talking about giving children phones for them to use at home unsupervised, but we're talking about advancing digital technology and understanding how to use technology responsibly. So teachers can also be equipped with that, but infrastructurally, we must also be ready. I think we want to go backwards and not allow that, but the age of the children must also be correct and appropriate to what they can do with the digital technologies.
Thank you so much, Doc, for sharing your thoughts with us today. Now, the challenge now is to strike that right balance between digital access and discipline, ensuring that innovation in education goes hand in hand with values and well-being, as the Doc mentioned earlier, regulation. Thank you so much again, Doc. Now, more global updates in just a moment. This is The World on Bernama TV.